Welcome to our Star Wars and The Last Jedi special that we are doing. This is a 4-part series. This is part 1. The other 3 parts will be linked in the description below when they become available, and we'll be releasing them on a weekly basis. So let's go ahead and get started with this one. Chan, do you want to start us off?
I kind of want to start with a public apology for our first review of Last Jedi. Part of it was that was literally the night we saw it, and that is why
it was like 2 hours after seeing it.
2 hours after seeing it, yeah, we filmed it immediately, and of course, at least for me, whenever I see a Star Wars movie, it's like awesome. I'm on cloud 9, no matter what it is. Barney could be dancing around in the background, and I'd still be raving about it just because I loved it and it's in my blood. And then later on, it started to fade away, where as I kept watching and I started seeing more and more flaws. I tell you what, though, because you and your friend came to that premiere, and
my friend Colton.
I remember, I don't know who asked, maybe I asked about what you guys think.
It was Colton who said that.
Yeah. He said he was like, he loved it and all that. But even then, I already said I still liked Revenge of the Sith better.
Well, because we were all talking about, where does this place in the line of Star Wars movies? Like, where does it place for you? And I myself was having trouble. I'm like, I have no idea. Because like at the time, I thought it was better than The Force Awakens, and honestly, like at the same time, like I kind of feel I don't feel bad about the video that we made in the first place, because that was our first impression.
Yeah.
That was exactly how we thought, and that's how we felt at the time.
True.
And we've learned so much in the time. I mean, yeah, it sucks that we had that opinion, and honestly, I'm embarrassed that I had that opinion.
Yeah.
That I thought it was good. Like, it is such a bad movie, and we've learned so much since it's been released. But at that time, we were talking and we were trying to figure out, well, where does this line up in all the Star Wars movies? And I was like, well, I think it's better than the Force Awakens. It's not better than any of the original. And I was having trouble placing it in between the prequels that I like.
I think to know us better is, no matter what Disney will make, we know that it'll never touch 4, 5, and 6, at least. And then,
well, it's barely touching the prequels now.
Yeah, it's barely touching the prequels now. But at the time, there's nothing. We know that there's nothing they can make that will ever top 4, 5, and 6. I'm just saying that right now. So those are off the table. Those are the gold standard, the platinum standard, and that's it. But other than that, they do have the potential to be better than the prequels. But I remember, so I'm always gauging it off my favorite prequel, Revenge of the Sith, and with each entry, Force Awakens, Rogue One, Last Jedi, Solo, I've always compared it to, is it better than not Last Jedi, of course, but is it better than Revenge of the Sith? That's where I gauge it. And I already knew Last Jedi was still not better. Force Awakens was the same thing. All of those everything Disney's made has never been better than Revenge of the Sith to me. So, and I remember your friend being really surprised when I said, still not better than Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, really?
What?
I don't remember that.
Yeah. And, but
just for the record, his opinion has also changed, like ours.
Really?
He understands and knows more about why it's such a bad movie now. Like, we get it, we see it more. And so that was my first fan event ever that I ever went to. And it was like super expensive tickets.
We paid $50.
$50 a ticket. It was pretty. It was a really awesome experience. They had some of the 501st there. They had. I don't think they didn't have anybody dressed up like Jedi though, did they? They did have a Kylo Ren though, didn't they?
DJ was the
DJ guy. I forgot about him. He's so awesome.
The thing about the 501st Kyle is they're all the bad guys. No good guys. I don't know. Okay. So, because you mentioned, is there a Jedi? And it was like, but yes, they're the DJ.
There could be
he wasn't
Jedi there too, but...
No, but yeah. No, I thought you meant just 501st. Yeah. Because you were like...
In the 501st being Jedi?
Yeah,
no,
that's what I thought.
No.
Okay.
I know who the 501st are.
All right.
But no, like there was a 501st there. I was like, well, were there any Jedi there too? I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, no, I understand that.
All right, that makes sense. I was like,
so they had the 501st there.
They're always
they had a little R2 though. A guy who actually made his own R2D2.
Yeah.
and it was like remote control, and he was moving it around. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think I remember that day. I was dressed like Poe Dameron, and you even see it in the video that we made.
I think I have pictures of it on my phone. But yeah, I remember that day. That was pretty good.
And that was fun. I always gravitate towards more of the good guys whenever I cosplay. Just part of it is almost a selfish reason because unlike a lot of people, it seems like, and I could be wrong, but I really like showing my face when I'm in a costume. So my favorite cosplay of all time, out of everything I've cosplayed, is probably still my very first cosplay was a Jedi costume. So I love being a Jedi, and it's because my face and I can breathe. It's so comfortable. It feels like pajamas. And so more often than not, you're gonna see me in a Jedi costume. Even though now I have a clone trooper suit, but man, I look at those and they're so uncomfortable. They're like cooler to look at, not to wear. I've honestly never even put it on yet.
That's really funny. But so we were there as a fan event. It was a really exciting time. The energy was super high. I mean, it was like there was just so much energy in that room, and like just the main room, the lobby, it was amazing. And then once we finally got in there, I remember like seeing the everybody was sitting down, kind of started quieting down. Lucasfilm.
Maybe no, wasn't your very first event? I remember it was a month before that. It was Justice League.
That wasn't a fan event though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, this was my first fan event.
But your first like premiere was Justice League. I remember you saying that first time you came, and because I remember because you were like, "Dang it, my first one was this movie," and it was kind of disappointing.
Oh, it was super disappointing.
Yeah,
Not only that, they had the audio like was just nuts. I had a headache by the end of it because everything was so loud. They were so like just loud.
This is Justice League.
Justice League, okay. Yeah. But Justice League, they were just so loud. Like the sound, the audio was just so loud. Like it was hurting my ears. Like I had a headache by the end of it. It was disappointing. It had a crappy story that was all over the place.
Yeah.
It just wasn't a good event. So
and then to feel like, okay, this should be better, right? We are in the spirits of, okay, Last Jedi will at least be better than Justice League.
Well, I mean, it had great posters. It had a great trailer. Everything about it was like spot on until you actually watched the movie. But at the time, like we said, when we first watched it, it was amazing. But now it's like, oh crap, this is a crappy movie. It had a lot going for it though. And there was a lot of hype for it. I mean, there was a lot of hype, I think, for The Force Awakens. But The Force Awakens set up so much for this movie to pay off in, or to have a payoff for. And they didn't have payoff for anything. And so it was overall a big disappointment, except for in the moment. This
is Last Jedi now. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
We're back to Last Jedi. Yeah, so we're jumping back and forth between two things here.
I didn't. I wanted to be clear because a lot of things we talk about can almost describe both of them.
Honestly, it can.
but yes,
but then again, I don't think okay. Let's not talk about Justice League.
Yeah, we won't. That's a different. No, that's a different time.
I can talk about that for a long time, but
yeah, that could be a different.
We'll talk about that later.
Another time. The thing about Last Jedi is it's almost like it was too ambitious for its own good.
But like, was it ambitious though? Unless like their ambition was to subvert our expectations. I'm not actually sure if it was ambitious.
It's so hard. It's a hard. I can't even tell if it was playing safe or they were being too risky. It was just, you can usually tell with the movie, but with this one, it's like. And then I remember hearing Rian Johnson's interview saying like, it's almost like he didn't say this, but it's almost like I'm not here to make friends. I'm just making this movie. He said I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't ticking people off.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, and I was like, what? Like, what kind of attitude is that?
I think you're always going to tick people off when you're in the movie business, but at the same time, because like no one's always going to agree with the way that you tell a story. But the thing is your job, and in a franchise like this, your job is to tell a story for the fans that exist and everyone else. But the fans should come first. And there's been like lots of mention that Lucasfilm has not been making movies or content for fans anymore. They're trying to get new fans because they don't care about the old fans.
Kathleen Kennedy mentioned, I'm not making it for. She pretty much was saying she's not making it for the fans. It's like making it for like everyone. And she has this like SJW agenda.
It's really sad because I feel like she's actually probably a nice person in real life if you actually meet her. I don't know, because like I know a lot of CEOs tend to be a little bit on the not as nice side, but I feel like she'd actually probably be
She
a
looks
really
like a
nice
nice
person.
person, yeah.
And so like I don't like talking bad about her, but I've been talking bad about her for so long now. I
Well,
just feel bad about it. But at the same time, like she's just destroying a franchise.
yeah, she's destroying my favorite franchise ever, and it's like, oh man, because to me, it's like she doesn't care about talent. She only cares about gender. So everyone she hires for like a lot of the crew and a lot of behind the scenes and even a lot of the actors are hired just because they're a woman.
Well, you know that she hired someone a while ago, and it was a woman that she hired, and that woman's job, I don't know her name. I can't even think of a source right now because it's been so long since I've actually like read this article. But the woman's job that she hired was to hire other women. That was like her job description. Go hire other women. And like
so, just to be clear, what was it? Anyway,
the thing is with that type of an attitude, like, oh, let's hire. Like, I get it if you want to have more inclusive. I can't say the word. Inclusivity. Oh my gosh. If you want to have more people of other ethnics and other genders and other like whatever, I get it if you want to have that, but don't cancel out or like get rid of everyone else. And at the same time, if you look at that, like, let's say the CEO went and hired a man whose job is to hire other men. That's sexist. But the fact that it's a woman who got hired to hire other women, we can't say anything about it.
Yeah.
It's like, what? That's not right.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Sorry,
well, no, you're fine. Just to be clear, we are not women haters. We're not racist. We care about talent. If they are the right fit, I don't care
I think
where
that's
they're
most
from.
people too.
Yeah, exactly. Like go back to the ideologies of Martin Luther King. It doesn't matter. It's the contents of the character, not the color of the skin.
Yep.
In this case, not the gender. So it's like we love women, we love everyone, but whatever best serves the story or the franchise or Star Wars, whatever best serves Star Wars should be the people for the job, not by the color of the skin, not by the gender. So that's another thing, partly why I think Star Wars is coming apart, is because it's all about. And to me, it's funny because it seems like Star Wars is, I don't even know what the word is, but like it's like they're against alien representation. You know,
they don't have any alien representation.
Yeah, there's not good.
They got female representation.
They're so focused on female and colored representation that they've lost sight of what Star Wars is. Star Wars has always had aliens. The first 6 Star Wars was a bunch of aliens, and that's what I miss. I feel like we have this random character, Holdo, coming out of nowhere, taking glory from Admiral Akbar. Admiral Akbar should have been in Holdo's spot.
Well, we know him. He has a reputation. We already know where he stands in the rebellion or resistance or whatever you want to call it. Like, we know where he stands. We trust him. He's been introduced to us as a man of power within the rebellion. And so bringing in a new lady who all of a sudden has more like authority than Admiral Akbar. And also, I mean, I know they got rid of Admiral Akbar at that point before then. But still, like she just like jumps in with more authority than we ever saw him have. And it was just like, why do you have so much authority? Like, where do you get this from? And it's just it felt so weird.
It felt so forced.
It did.
And when she died, no one cared because we didn't build up.
I forgot she died.
Yeah. He even forgot she died. And it's like, what's the point? Is I feel like they hired Laura Dern. By the way, she was nothing. None of this was her fault. She's great.
No,
I love her. I loved her in Jurassic Park. I love her in this Reese Witherspoon movie. It was really good. Wild. That's what that movie's called, Wild. But she's a great actress. Nothing wrong with her. It's just, it's almost like they hired her partly because she was taller than the actor Oscar Isaacs, so that she can literally look down on Poe Dameron. You can obviously see the difference in height.
Which is weird because usually they try and hide the difference in height.
Yeah, this one was
Johnny Depp and Orlando Bloom, first Pirates movie. There's a pretty big difference in height there, but they do a really good job at hiding it.
Well, it almost felt like if it's almost like Holdo was like Bane in Dark Knight Rises. Do you feel in charge? And like it's almost, she didn't put her hand on his shoulder, but she pretty much did, like just with everything else she was doing in that movie. It just felt like I've had enough experience I'm tired of dealing with trigger happy flyboys
The
and
thing that
all
bugs
these
me
names.
about her and the whole idea of like, oh well, it's done like a military, and so there's, if you don't have the rank in order to know what's going on, you don't get to know what's going on. She was the only person who knew what was going on, so there was nobody else in there. So, and also the rebellion, like, and the rebels have never been like that. They've never been like, they've always informed people what's going
That's
on,
the perks of being a rebel.
and
The
not,
reason,
yeah.
and not the Empire. That's the way the Empire deals with things. In this movie, the rebels seem to be acting more like the Empire than they ever have. Or forgive me, Resistance.
No, the rebels.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
rebels.
call them
Yeah,
resistance.
yeah.
That's just
So it was like, it's all like, Resistance is all about, or the rebels are all about being free, and they give everyone information. Like, remember in Empire Strikes Back, Princess Leia informing everyone the whole plan of what was happening when they were escaping Empire Strikes Back. That's what it should have been like. Not, let's keep it a secret. Hee hee.
I know, it's just
Oh,
so
he's
dumb.
getting mad.
And she was really rude for like no reason whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of one of the things that I've noticed with a lot of female characters nowadays that are like supposed to be the important characters, including like Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
She's just rude.
They're vicious to their male counterparts.
Yeah.
Aren't they? Like, even Leia was subject to that, where she, she's like, get your head out of your cockpit, to Poe. And I'm like, okay, what does that even mean? What do you just...
That's just garbage.
Yeah,
writing
like,
right
it's
there.
supposed to be so funny,
It kind of like baffles me that this movie was written and directed by the same person who at least directed, if not also wrote Looper,
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Johnson. I can't remember if he wrote it or not. I know he directed it. I can't remember. I think he might have helped with the writing.
I heard he didn't write it and he directed it, and so it
Should
was
look it up on IMDb.
Yeah.
But that movie was actually pretty good. But there's one blaring plot hole which I can't remember for the life of me. I've been trying to remember it, and
I need to watch it, Ian.
I know I haven't seen it in a while, but like that movie was really good. It was done really well, and the story was told really well. And so it just shocks me that the director of such an amazing movie, which had some of the best like practical makeup. I say practical makeup because there's a lot of CGI makeup nowadays. So practical, like prosthetic makeup.
Okay, according to IMDb, he did write Looper.
That's what I thought. Yeah. And just like
when I heard he was when I heard he was attached to it for the first time, I was actually excited.
I was too,
because I knew he did Looper.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's cool. And we had good experience. Before that, we had Gareth Edwards, who helmed Godzilla, and he did a way good job with Rogue One. And then, of course, JJ helming, he had countless stuff under his belt, like Mission Impossible 3, Star Trek. So I always thought he was perfect for the job. And so everyone they've hired on paper looks good. I remember the Colin Trevor, the director of Jurassic World, was supposed to do the ninth Star Wars movie, but then JJ did it again. But they fired him
because he backed out. Probably they probably didn't actually fire him. He probably just backed out because of all the crap that Ryan Johnson was getting, and he didn't want to have to play with the mess that Ryan Johnson left.
It was part of the whole, like, I think he backed out or got fired before Last Jedi.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, it's been kind of up in the air.
Creative differences, maybe.
Yeah.
Wouldn't say yes to all of Kathleen Kennedy's
because the directors of
orders.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because the directors of the original directors were fired, and it was just like, and then tons of reshoots on Rogue One. Like, there's been trouble on like every production of Disney Star Wars.
I believe like Rogue One's probably the movie I have the least amount of problems with, but the problems I do have with it are pretty big. But at the same time, I do think that the reason why Rogue One is not my favorite of the new Disney sequel trilogy, or not trilogy, but sequel movies. I guess it's not technically a sequel movie, but of the Disney movies, is because of the reshoots. I think that's why. I think that kind of just totally destroyed the story.
Yeah, Rogue One was so far the best Star Wars Disney so far, and again, that's really not saying much.
Why is that, actually? I'm actually kind of wondering, because I want to tell you why it's not mine, but I want to hear why it is yours and before that.
Well, out of all of them, it feels closest to Star Wars. And part of that's probably due to the time it's set in because it's actually right next to New Hope. But the characters I liked. My favorite Disney era Star Wars character is Donnie Yen's character, the blind monk like character. Guardians of the Wills. I love those guys, and I'm also fascinated by actually the co-creator of Photoshop had that idea. He was the one who gave the idea, and he's behind the special effects of Star Wars from the prequel era. And I should know his name. I mean, yeah, but anyway, he and then that was derived from like a little part of the crawl of A New Hope, and I was like, wow, that's so cool how that came from really nothing, but they developed this whole awesome movie about it. Uh, yeah, it's that one. Yeah, so far that one is my favorite, just because it's, um, to me it was very entertaining. Um, the soundtrack wasn't the best. Probably my least favorite soundtrack of the new Disney era Star Wars, but no, I liked it. No, I'm trying to think of more reasons why I really liked it, but
Well, I can tell you why I liked it, and I can
mhm.
tell you why I didn't like it. So I liked it because, well, one, yeah, it actually did feel like a Star Wars adventure. And that's something that even The Force Awakens didn't have. Even with Han Solo, it didn't quite feel like a Star Wars adventure. And I mean Han Solo in The Force Awakens, not Han Solo in Solo. Um, so it was actually pretty fun
I
for a
think.
bit.
Oh, I remember another one.
Oh,
Sorry
go
to
ahead. No, go
interrupt.
ahead.
But another reason was it. As far as all the stories they've done so far, with I like to write scripts and I like stories, and I've grown up with being creative. My mom was an author, and so I look at it as from a creative aspect of why I like things or how I do things. And pretty much everything Disney's done with Star Wars so far, I would not have done. The direction they've gone with it, other than Rogue One, I have not liked. So Rogue One was actually, I look at it, maybe it's kind of a selfish way to look at it, but it's actually a movie I probably would have made myself, and see the most of myself in that movie is Rogue One. And and because it's a fascinating story. It's cool. And the other ones, like the sequel trilogy, I do not like the direction at all they went with it. I don't like I don't like any of the new characters really. Kylo Ren's slightly interesting to me, and I like Solo. Solo's way better than Last Jedi, but I don't like the fact that it exists. I don't like
That's a funny way to put it.
yeah, I don't like the fact that any of the Disney Star Wars exists except Rogue One. So that's another big reason why I like it. But I don't like. I thought the direction they were going in the EU books, extended universe, was a whole lot more fascinating than what they are doing now. I really feel like partly why Marvel is so successful is because they don't completely copy the comics, but they have one hand on the comics at least. One foot in the door, that's the comics, and the other foot in their own creative liberties. But they don't do that with Star Wars. They go completely off the path of any Star Wars story from before. So what I would have liked is maybe not completely say the EU's canon, but have more inspiration from the EU. Partly why I think Rebels and Clone Wars are so cool is because they actually do have inspiration from the EU. There's like military tactics they do. They do all these kinds of some even characters like Thrawn is from the EU but is now in Rebels and now is canon. There's characters and stuff that they do that they take from the EU and use it, kind of like what Marvel does with the comics. So I wish they did that with more of the mainstream Star Wars. Is they should have taken some more inspiration from, not exactly copy it, but get some more, like, more, and that rather than go completely off the beaten path.
I'm wondering if that's actually why Rogue One was as well as received as it was because it's so close to the originals. And like I was like I do agree because I'm I don't know if I consider myself a creative, but I'm definitely a critic. I can tell you that. And I really like the idea of Rogue One, and the only thing I don't like about it is mostly how they did it, how they executed it. And the reason I say that is because I didn't care about any of the characters by the end of it, except for K2SO, which is a robot, which is, I mean, he's still a character, so I guess they
that
achieved
says
that.
it all right there, right? For
But
you.
yeah,
It's like the one character I do care about is a robot.
and it's like, I mean, he's a good character, don't get me wrong, but he's not one of the characters that I feel like I needed to get attached to or care about by the end of the movie. I wish I would have cared more about the other characters by the end of the movie. So there was that. And then there was one huge, like, annoying, I don't want to call it a plot hole. It was just so unnecessary to the story and had zero effect by the end of the movie that it was just like, why? And I think it was like a 40-minute long sequence. So it was a huge chunk of time. Maybe it was like 30 minutes. I can't remember.
Was it the scene where they go try to rescue
her dad?
Her dad. Okay.
Yep. Because I can't remember anybody's name in the movie because I haven't seen it in forever because it's not really my favorite. But it was the one guy who was gonna kill her dad. What's his name? I can't remember. Anyways, if you remember it, just shout it out. So he was gonna kill her dad, and somehow she figured out that he was gonna kill her dad, but then he didn't kill her dad. But then after everything kind of went down, and her dad ended up dying, and it wasn't from this guy; it was from a different thing. I think there was an explosion or something. And they're back on the ship, and she's talking to him.
Explosion from the X-wings.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And she's talking to him. He's like, "You were gonna kill my dad. Like, how dare you?" And she's all mad at him, like for a good reason. I mean, he was gonna kill her dad.
Mm-hmm.
2 scenes later, she's like completely forgiven him. Like she didn't take. She's like, it's like it never even happened. And she's like, "Hey, yo, I'm gonna go do this like mission. Do you want to come help me?" And he's like, "Yeah, okay, let's do it." And it's like, wait a second, he just tried to kill your dad, sort of.
To me, I felt like she. It's like it was an end.
It didn't come off as like a desperate times, desperate measures or whatever. I can't remember the phrase.
Yeah.
It didn't come off as that to me. It just came off as like a rewrite issue.
To me, it was like a means to an end. Or it was like, that's where I got the vibe where it's like, the whole movie, I think, at least towards the end part, I feel like she knew that it was going to cost her life. You know, that this was going to be a great sacrifice.
Yeah.
So I think she's like, whatever help I can get, let's do it, and let's get it done.
Put a spoiler warning at the beginning.
If you haven't seen Rogue One,
if you haven't seen these movies, then you probably don't care.
Yeah,
let's put it that way.
You wouldn't be listening to this if you hadn't seen any of the new, at least the new Disney Star Wars. I think so. But yeah, sure, that helps. Spoiler warning.
I don't know. I was not convinced. I just wasn't convinced enough to have her just all of a sudden be like, yo, hey, remember that thing that happened? I guess it didn't happen anymore, so let's be friends and let's go do this mission. It felt so weird. I would have been more okay with it. I mean, if I were her, and this is kind of like my opinion, obviously. So if I were her, I would have looked for almost anybody else to go with me before going to him. It's like, you were going to kill my dad. I'm going to look for everybody else before I go and get you. But she didn't spend any time. Literally, right after she talked to like the council about going and doing this mission, and the council was like, no, we can't do it. It's too risky. The first person she goes to is him. I think, anyways, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. But I'm like, whoa. He was going to kill your dad. Like, so it just felt so weird and so unnatural. And I really feel like it was because of either a rewrite and a reshoot or something. Maybe it just got overlooked. I don't know. These are big productions. Things happen.
Well, there's so many things that happen in the trailer that don't happen in the movie.
Yep.
So you can tell that's from the rewrites.
Oh yeah. Oh, that is actually one more thing that is actually really good about Rogue One, is the CGI. The CGI has never been better in a Star Wars movie than Rogue One.
True. Well, and cool. It was cool to see like the old school Star Wars ships.
Yep.
Like that and that clear, that good looking Star Destroyer, Death Star, X-wings, seeing them all, and then some new ones.
Yeah.
That's another fun thing to see, because other than that, all we see is, and then we got Solo now, of course. But other than that, we've only seen the new age Star Wars look so good, which. It's like,
which The Last Jedi had the worst CGI out of all of the new Star Wars movies. Like the moment when Rey and Luke are on that little cliff outside the temple, and it's just like this weird cliff that just kind of sticks out the side of it. That looked so horrible. I remember even when I was in theaters, like I remember seeing that. I was like, that kind of looks off. And then later when I rewatched it, I was like, yep, that's off. There's something wrong there. And it was funny because later in the movie, when they're on that salt planet of the name I don't remember, and Finn and Rose are on one of those ships. The what's the new bad guys' names again?
No. Oh, New Order.
Is that what it is? It doesn't sound right. First Order? First Order.
First Order,
there
yeah.
we go. Okay.
New Order.
See, we can't even remember what that is.
I think in my head, I think New Order, that was like an old Star Wars book.
That would have been cooler, maybe.
Star Wars
Anyways,
New Order.
So the First Order, so they're in one of those ships because they just escaped off one of the bigger ships, and so they're going down to the salt planet now, and the big doors, the blast doors, if you will, like massive door for the hangar is closing, and they barely make it under, and that like the ship slides to like where the rebels are, and all the rebels are like shooting at it and everything. When I watched that in theaters, and even to this day when I watch it, I'm like, that is CGI. That looks so CGI. And that's actually practical. So the things that are practical look like crap, and the things that are CGI look worse. It's like, dude, what is going on? And so I just don't, there's just so much in this movie. We're going to go ahead and pause right here for part 1, and part 2 will be coming out next week. If it's already been more than a week, it will be linked in the description below. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed.